for opening your arms, for inviting me and my wife to come out here and do a little something to share in this moment. And like the brother said, prayers are necessary because, this organized crime unit called the United States government, they don't sleep, man. They don't rest. And it's gonna take a lot of prayers and a lot of energy to surround him just to get you through. Forget about possibly even getting into that crazy place they call the White House. Oh, Lord. But I thank you for just standing up and taking this time in your life when you could be. Where's Barack Obama right now? Where is he at? Like, where is he saying anything? He is chilling. He's chilling dope. This is crazy, man. At this time, with all these things going on, this man is speaking up. Yeah. So we thank you, Dr. West. Make some noise. Say truth, justice, love.
But in the history of hip-hop, Sister Key from Brooklyn and Brother Chaka from Pittsburgh. And before I acknowledge my dear Sister DJ Shanae, oh Lord have mercy. But I just want to say personally that Bernice Reagan, who was the founder of Sweet Honey on the Rock, I was blessed to do many concerts with that group, that she is smiling right now when she hears the Riders Against the Grain. She's smiling. Oh, indeed. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. I know you've been so very kind. You've been here for a good while. Some of y'all have been standing for a long time. But that's all right. Oh, my dear sister, indeed. No, we just got off the plane here, and I got a chance to see Brother Douglas. Where's Brother Douglas at? He's one of the volunteers. Raise your hand, Brother Douglas. Raise your hand. Where is he? He's probably working right now. Give it up for Brother Max. Where's Brother Max? There he is. And then anytime I get a chance to spend my time with Brother Bashir. Oh, Brother Bashir, don't give it up for this brother. Lord, and all the voices. My dear Palestinian brother who began on such a profound note, and that juxtaposition between the music and the funk of the music, the polyrhythms of the music, the syncopation of the music, having everything to do with how you transfigure the suffering. How do you confront the suffering in such a way that you end up so fortified and so ready to fight that the catastrophe never, ever has the last word. You see, this campaign ain't nothing but a moment in the movement of a great tradition of a great black people who've been wrestling with being hated for 400 years and dish out love warriors every generation. That's why I am unapologetic about being a love warrior. Oh yes, I don't listen to John Coltrane's Love Supreme for nothing. I don't listen to Stevie Wonder's Love in Need of Love for nothing. I don't listen to the OJ's Love Train for nothing. I don't read James Baldwin when he says love forces us to take off the mask. We know we cannot live within, but fear we cannot live without, because when you love the people and when you love those friends for now called the wretched of the people, that gives you a lens to which you view the world. It means you're going to keep track of the organized greed of predatory capitalist processes that will do anything for money, anything for profit, anything for revenue, and push out precious human beings whose basic needs are not being satisfied. It's about the lens through which you view the world. Yes, I come from a black people who've been terrorized for 400 years and keep dishing out freedom fighters and call not to terrorize back, but call for freedom for everybody. Meaning what? Yes, indeed, you got to resist. You resist with the best weaponry that you have, but you still put love at the very center of it, and therefore you try to somehow curtail and radically call into question all of the organized hatred and all of the organized greed and all of the organized cowardliness. And we're living at a time, we're living at a moment in which, as my brother was saying, it is so grim. It is so dim. But Malcolm X told us a long time ago that chickens come home to roost. You can't treat indigenous peoples as if they're less than human for 400 years and don't think there's not going to be some blowback. You don't treat working peoples with greedy bosses generation after generation after generation and don't think there's going to be some blowback. You don't treat the sisters with vicious patriarchal violence and hatred and contempt and don't think there's going to be some blowback. You don't treat our precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters and trans and don't think there's going to be some blowback. How come? Because those of us who still have the audacity to hold up the bloodstained banner of truth, and the condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak, beginning with the least of these. I come out of a revolutionary Christian tradition of Shiloh Baptist Church and Irene B. West and Clifton West. That's mom and dad. I don't exist without them. I don't exist without Reverend P. Cook. Next to that church was the Black Panther Party. I don't exist without Huey Newton. I don't exist without Bobby Seale. I don't exist without Erica Huggins. I don't exist without Elaine Brand. That's the tradition I choose to be a part of. And so, yes, it begins on the chocolate side of love, but it spills over to vanilla sides and other sides as well. But once you get yourself fortified in your own tradition, your own community, your ROOTS at its best, then your ROUTES, it enables you to be an internationalist. That's why there's no way that I could not say a word about genocide in Gaza. How can I not be true to the best of my tradition? We said we charged genocide in 1951 with W.B. Du Bois and William Patterson and Paul Robeson. My God, we can see it with our very eyes. We would say the same thing to our Jewish brothers and sisters in the 30s. We would say the same thing to Armenians in the 1910s. We say the same thing to Belgian Congo in the 1900s. It's a matter of morality. It's a matter of ethics. It's a matter of political courage. And we shouldn't even be congratulated. If we didn't raise our voices, the rocks would shout out. But part of the problem these days is that the American empire, there's been 70 empires since the beginning of species going back to Africa. The United States is number 68. And every empire peaks, emerges, peaks, decline, decays, and usually the death throbs of that empire is its most base moment of criminality and immorality. And it's hard for the country to come to terms with that because each empire has its own specific histories of lying about itself to hide its crimes. But what is distinctive about the American empire is the claim to innocence. And there's a genius of Harlem named James Baldwin who wrote in The Fire Next Time, what is most disgusting about America is its claim to innocence when it is the authorizer of the devastation. And that's the connection between what's going on in Gaza, where the American empire enables genocide, enables ethnic cleansing, enables apartheid-like conditions. And that's not the only place, but that's now the most visible place. That's the fundamental litmus test of whether one has a moral fiber at all, whether one has any soul left in one's social experiment. But we could ask our indigenous brothers and sisters, we right here in Texas, this used to be what? Mexico. The Mexican War was illegal, criminal, immoral. And there were indigenous peoples before the Mexican brothers and sisters got here. How do we keep track of truth? The condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. And then when we move to justice, you see. Oh, you see, part of the problem in America is when you believe your innocence, then you always want deodorized discourses that hide the funk. See, I come from a black people who believe in funk masters. See, George Clinton ain't no joke. James Brown ain't a joke. There was a beautiful picture at Waterloo Records. You walk in and you see Betty Davis. Who was Betty Davis? She was the wife of Miles Davis for about 1.5 years. She was a funk master, put out 3 powerful albums that inspired the Ohio Players and inspired Lakeside and inspired a whole wave of funk masters. And what is it about the funk? It's real. It's raw. But it's the very thing that enables you to come to terms with the catastrophe. And that's one of the problems of our political discourse. You see, when you talk about the history of capitalism, the history of white supremacy, the history of male supremacy, and so forth, there's never been a race problem in America. There's been catastrophes visited upon black people. And if we reduce catastrophe to a problem, you will end up with a discourse about diversity rather than a discourse about justice. Now, I defend the DEI, but I know it was a bureaucratic construct that tried to sanitize and sterilize what it meant for to be excluded with vicious white supremacists and male supremacists. And it's true for our precious brown brothers and sisters and Latino brothers and sisters. That somehow always try to not just degrade, not just demean, but to keep us afraid. And I come from a tradition that says every generation, some of us would rather be a corpse than a coward. Oh, yes. Brother Martin King used to say, I'd rather be dead than afraid. And Daddy King, his father, told me a story one time. He said, Brother West, one of the lowest moments of my life before Martin's funeral was when he was in a paddy wagon for 4.5 hours, driven from ATL, A-Town, Atlanta to Reedsville Prison. He was in the dark. It was just Brother Martin and a German shepherd in the dark for 4.5 hours. And when Brother Martin got out of that police paddy wagon, he could not walk a straight line. All he could say was, this is the cross we must bear for the freedom of our people. That's what Leonard Peltier is saying right now. That's what Mumia Abu-Jamal is saying right now. That's what H. Rap Brown is saying right now. This is the cross we must bear for the freedom of our people. But as a blues people, you say, I'll bear this cross. I'll carry this cross. I'll even die on the cross. But the catastrophe in the cross will not have the last word, because the tradition of resistance and resilience, the tradition of oppressed people is such that even in the face of the vicious genocide, look at the dignity of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, still casting, still elegant, still dignified, still fighting, still resisting, still resilient. Yes, and that is a human affair. The Irish did it against 800 years of British colonialism. Yes, the Filipinos did it against Spanish and American colonialism. It's a choice any human being can make. That's what's beautiful. And because America, with its claim to innocence that hides its violence, has been one in which when we come alive, and especially the Black Freedom Movement as a catalyst for a whole host of others, then it's a new day. Then you authorize a different future that people can't see. And that's exactly where we are. And if we can't catalyze and organize, create a capacity to present a countervailing force against the capitalist greed. It could be fossil fuels trying to bring it into the planet. It could be the land grab and the power grab that they sanitize and call gentrification. It ain't nothing but just a land grab and a power grab to push out working people and poor people in the name of more profits with a corrupt real estate industry obsessed with more money. And we say, no, we shall be in solidarity with those. And see, in my own personal case, it has a lot to do with my Jewish brothers and sisters who wrote the Hebrew scripture that dished out into the world the spreading of a hesed, of a loving kindness and a steadfast love to the orphan and the widow and the fatherless and the motherless and the vulnerable and the oppressed and the subjugated. How human it is that a people who've been terrorized and traumatized for 2,000 years themselves can now terrorize and traumatize another people's. We've seen that cycle over and over again. So don't let anybody tell you to stand in solidarity and have a deep love with Palestinians that somehow you are anti-Jewish. No, get off the crack pipe. We're concerned about anybody who's suffering, anybody who's oppressed, anybody who's dominated, anybody who's occupied. It's a moral and a spiritual witness. Very important. And they're going to lie anyway, but we just want to be clear. And I want to say this in sitting down. I want to acknowledge now we've got signatures that we need here in Texas. And I see my dear brothers right in the corner, right there. There he is. There they are. You go. When you come, if you leave and if you want to, if you so choose, please sign, because we want to be on the ballot in Texas. We already on the ballot in Alaska. That was my first state, Alaska. Isn't that something? Alaska looks more like the National Hockey League than it does the National Basketball Association. But I love my vanilla brothers and sisters up there. They're for universal basic income. I am, because I'm an abolitionist. I want to abolish poverty. I want to abolish homelessness and unhousedness. I want to abolish corporate greed. I want to end mass incarceration. Whatever punishment, it ought to look like what they have in Norway and Finland. You have rehabilitation, restoration, and education. We don't need solitary confinement. We don't need torture. Those are crimes against humanity too. But I won't go into all the policies. You can see that. But I do want to say this in terms of solidarity. It's so very important. So very, very crucial. There was a brother that used to play the piano in Miles Davis's quintet. His name was Bill Evans. And he had Coltrane on the saxophone. And he had some great artists on their other instruments. And Bill was a white brother, wasn't he? Vanilla brother. Now Miles Davis was the most unapologetically black musician that you can have up to Dead Prayers. And I love me some Dead Prayers. Them one stick, man. Oh, give it up for them. Give it up for them. But Bill Evans was never a white ally for Miles. See, he didn't say, Train, play your solo, brother. You're sounding so good. Oh, good God Almighty. Now we're going to turn to the white ally to play his solo. No. Bill Evans was in the band. He earned it. They trusted him. Don't fetishize what color, or gender, or sexual orientation. Be true to who you are, but when you in the band, you in solidarity because you're a human being who's choosing integrity, honesty, decency, and what have you. So the Palestinian movement, those who constantly, week after week after week, shutting down the Golden Gate Bridge, shutting down Brooklyn Bridge. Whoever's doing that is in the band. They could be black, they could be white, they could be Jewish, they could be Catholic, they could be Ethiopian, Lithuanian, whatever. That's how you create solidarity. And once we have that kind of solidarity, we then pose a substantive threat to the powers that be. And that threat is a compliment. It means that all of our sacrifice, all of our compassion, all of our willingness to empty ourselves and leave the world a little better than we found it is having some powerful effect on the organized greed, the organized hatred, and the organized indifference to those who are suffering. That's what this campaign is about. So I want to thank you all for coming out. I know it's a hot day here in Austin, Texas. But just know that, oh, yeah, somebody got the horn. Oh, play the horn. Play that horn, yes. Oh, yes. But just know that before the campaign, all the way through the end of the campaign, we make it to the White House. I'm not going to the White House till everybody has a house. I want the elimination of poverty and the elimination of unhousedness. Biden just authorized $200 billion for B-21 bombers. Can you imagine what that money could do for quality education? Ought to be free. Medicare ought to be free. Can you imagine what that would do for access to safe communities where the police are under civic oversight and community control, so they're not engaging in police brutality on the black and brown side of town, but nice, protect, and serve on the vanilla, well-to-do part of town? Yes, that's the kind of vision that we have. And that's the kind of impact we can have if we stay together. God bless. Stay strong. Stay strong.
Come on, you gotta do a better job than that. Make some noise for Dr. Cornel West. Amazing, amazing.